Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mad Mamluks podcast. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts, Sheikh Amir, Dama Barakatuhu, my man Mort from the popular show Muzzy Buzz,
Assalamu alaikum.
and always a favorite, Maheen Islam, who I can't get him on the screen right now, but we shall fix that in a second.
There he is.
Salt in the sneakers.
Folks, before we get this show started, help us out on patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks. Every little bit helps. And is everything okay?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, he's doing
Someone's got their phone
That's
playing
him.
here.
I got
That's
it.
mine.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Clubhouse.
madmamluks.com/donate. Help us out via PayPal if you choose to. You can go down that road. Make sure you click on like and subscribe. And help us out by commenting in the comment section below with your thoughts related to this episode. Not the same people from last episode, though. I don't like you guys very much.
Just
It's
kidding.
all good. It's all love.
It's a joke.
I was like, man, I'm glad my parents were in town, man. Y'all took the heat off me. You know what I'm happy about? Sheikh Amr, man. About time. 5 years in, finally taking some heat.
You know
The
the
rest of us
funny,
got some time.
the funny thing is that is the first thing that Maheen tweeted all about. Told all
he
of us
was
in the
so
group. He's like,
excited.
it's about time Amr got some heat.
Yo,
It wasn't even like whether right or wrong. It's like, yes, he got heat.
I got a lot to say about that quote unquote heat. But yeah, I honestly I didn't feel the heat too much. The dilemma was Sim, I know you were gonna start off. You want me to just say a few things before you begin?
Let's give us some friendly
Hey.
reminders.
Yeah.
Here.
To tell people about Ramadan or something, because there's people still rolling through.
Tell people about Ramadan or something. Tell them Molvi to talk about Ramadan. What's going on?
Can we just get right into it,
No,
to be honest?
Hang on 1 second. So, guys, I had to fix Maheen's screen. His beautiful face has not been on the show for a long time. All right.
Yeah, it's been like 3 weeks, actually.
The purpose of the Mad Mamluks was always something that I always introduce people with. Why we named the Mamluks. The Mamluks was because the Mamluks came at a pivotal point in history where they gathered all these forces, factions within the Muslim world, where the Muslim world was fragmented, and there was an overarching looming thread by the name of the Mongols coming at the Muslim world full steam ahead, steamrolled through the Abbasid Khilafat, and just demolished everything their way. And our purpose, or the meaning behind the Mamluks, was always to be this force, some kind of movement slash collective. I don't know what's the fashionable word. I think collective is what people call each other these days nowadays. Is because
And raising awareness.
yeah, I mean, just a bunch of like-minded individuals who don't necessarily subscribe to any particular set of like beliefs so religiously that they're going to sacrifice their Islam. They have their Islam as their centerpiece, and everything else around it, it's kind of orbiting it and checking and going and basically expressing itself from Islam. So when we had last week's episode, it was basically something that wasn't given. We didn't plan it out. We weren't like planning out like, oh, let's go against the Deobandi
It
madrasa
was just a
system.
discussion.
It was just a discussion. It just happened. We basically said before the show, hey, let's talk about some of the controversy surrounding that. That was it. There was no other planning or coordinated assault against anything. We just basically said, hey, let's talk about the subject. I don't know where it lead us. And that's how it unfolded. That being said, I didn't know our beloved Sheikh Barakatuhu, Sheikh Amr, he was going to go in the direction he did, but I was really happy. I'm going to be honest with you. I was super ecstatic because there was a lot of things that I wanted mentioned that he wasn't really comfortable for a long time talking about. And there was no coordinated attempt to discredit the Deobandi movement or the madrasa system within the subcontinent or in the UK or America. That was not the intention. We said that multiple times during the show, but people wanted to interpret what we were saying the way they did. So when what at least from my mind, when I made the provocative title that I did, I wanted it to be noticed because I wanted people from that movement to know that they were noticed. Not them specifically. Problems within their movement, individuals who are practicing beliefs, specifically seher, which is a form of magic, white, black, I don't know, it's all the same to me, but they are practicing magic and they're hurting people's lives, and it's being noticed by us, people within our families, multiple individuals within this team, and friends of ours, and otherwise. They've all been affected by certain individuals within our community from these beliefs. And this is something that's happened since we were young. We would always hear these stories from certain individuals we closely associated with, and it was just like, in certain madrasas, it was just ghost stories you tell to the kids. But in other madrasas, we highly believe, it's not even like we know for a fact, it's much more than that. And for that reason, we brought up this subject, and it wasn't something that I had any intention of backtracking or pulling the episode. There was none of that was going to happen, because it was about time this subject was brought up, it was discussed. Could it have been better? Of course, it was. It's a open forum. It was a discussion among friends.
Off the fly.
Yeah.
By the way, which are a lot of our roundtables.
Yeah, the whole format of this show is just off the cuff. We have full-time jobs. We don't have plans of issuing refutation fatwas and the devil's deception of the Deobandis exposed, part 1, part 2, part 3. None of that happens. Now, that being said, there were some challenges. Some people came forward saying, hey, if you have proof, well, the onus is on you to bring it, which we do. But we, as people who are expressing or disbursing knowledge on or whatever of whatever kind onto people, we have a certain level of responsibility, because when we are bringing proof related to magic being in Deobandi texts that have been uncovered, that we found out through a lot of research actually, why would we paste that onto the screen so that people who have nefarious intentions can utilize that? If it took us a long time to find that, why would we make that readily accessible? So the decision was made that we're going to send the evidence, things related to proof of what we were talking about, to individuals who are directly responsible for over institutions. Basically, if there's anyone who has any curiosity about what we're talking about, but in my mind, I think most of the brass knows about this kind of stuff. But if you, I can totally give you the benefit of the doubt. If you do not know about some of this literature, specifically of Maulana Ashraf Ali Tanvi's writings, where he has instructions on how to perform certain tasks that are related to magic, you can email info@themamluks.com asking for evidence. Okay, please, evidence request, and it has to be from an institution.com address. I'm not going to just go ahead and email Yahoo and Gmail addresses, this kind of stuff. It has to go into the right hands and dealt by the right individuals. And we'll see where that takes us. I'll also go out of my way and make sure that some of the elder Maulanas, muftis in the United States have this literature so that they know that we're not lying. That's one thing that there's one thing about protecting being right and laying the smackdown like, hey, look, I won the argument. And then releasing all this kind of irresponsible knowledge onto people. But then there's
That's
also
very irresponsible.
yeah. So the decision was made that we're just going to send it to anyone who's a mufti or leader at any of these institutions who are asking for this evidence. We'll send it their way, and I'll go out of my way and make sure certain individuals are aware of it. Sheikh, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, opening thoughts and closing thoughts,
Yeah.
inshallah. Opening thoughts, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with all of his perfect names and attributes to protect all of us and to protect our families and to protect us from engaging in things that please the shayateen. Whether it be anything simply haram or as we're talking about, controlling jinns and magic and all that kind of stuff, right? And that's not directed towards anybody, that's in general. So the first thing is, before I talk about our previous episode, I don't want any of our Deobandi brothers and any of the Braley brothers that I mentioned to think for 1 second that we feel, number one, that they're not a part of the ummah, that they're not a part of the jama'ah, that they're not a part of being our brothers and sisters. We are a family, and these are our internal issues. And the reason why I mentioned it was for own personal reasons. Like, these guys know I've been carrying this for like over 15 years. I know people personally in my family that I had to do ruqya and facilitate ruqya because of certain organizations, right? So there's a lot of stuff I was carrying with myself for a long time. And it just happened to be, and everything happens with the permission of Allah, the lack of rest that I had. I was actually going to call off on that podcast and be like, hey guys, I can't make it, right? I told this to the guys later. And it happened to be with that, coupling the tiredness with the strong chai that I had right before, I just started saying things and blabbing off things that I would never do. I never wanted to talk about these things in public. It just happened to be that day. It was a storm, and it happened. And do I regret that I said it? I don't regret that episode at all, to be honest with you. I'm going to talk about certain things that could have been done better, but I was carrying this thing on me a long time, and specific family members whose ta'weezes that I opened that they got from certain institutions, and they had satanic verses in there, they had negation of Allah in there, and they were told that it was a ta'weez. All that, there's a lot of that kind of stuff that happened, right? That's what I was carrying on me. I don't want to reopen this thing, but that's the reason why I talked about what I talked about. And is it a burden that's lifted off my chest and my shoulders? Definitely. Which is why you were saying, it's time that we take some heat, or I'm going to take some heat. The only regret that I had was for individuals that were seeking knowledge, and I felt bad for them that they had to hear that if they were seeking knowledge from some of these institutions, right? But to say that we completely hate Deobandis, look, somebody even mentioned that in the comments, and I agree with them. A lot of our guests were Deobandi. And the one that we respect the most was Sheikh who?
Sheikh Amin.
You guys know it. I don't even have to say it. It's Sheikh Amin, right? Who is a judge in his own right, one of the most amazing people that I've ever met in my life, one of the people responsible for me going and studying, like giving me direction in that. Yeah. And I talked about it in my journey, right? In my journey series on the Mad Mamluks. So obviously, he's a very, very special person to us, and he has nothing to do with what I was talking about, right? And there's probably many others, but I want to talk about that in specific because some of the scholars, amongst the scholars that I respect the most in the United States, is Sheikh Amin.
Yeah.
Probably the most. These guys know I always talk. So, and the reason I'm mentioning this is not an apology. I'm mentioning this to let you guys know, those of you guys who are hurt by this, I'm sorry you were hurt by it, but we're going to keep this episode up. But I don't want you guys to think for 1 second that we were giving fodder to people who want to divide us, because they're not going to divide us, right? Even though on the face value it seems like we're divided as Muslims. We always say, oh, look, we have two separate Eids. We're divided. No, we're not divided because of that, right? That's not division. And people who want to capitalize on that episode and say and come to us and be like, hey, man, we have more dirt against them, and we're not going to take that from them, right? And a beautiful example that Sheikh Amin gave me, because I got a chance to speak to him, amazing individual, mashallah, fatabarakallah. He gave me the example of Muawiyah radiallahu anh, right? The backstory is the Caesar of Rome contacted Muawiyah when the turmoil happened between Muawiyah and Ali radiallahu anhuma. And the Caesar said to Muawiyah, sent him a letter and said, we believe that you're more befitting for rulership. We are ready to send you an army against Ali radiallahu anh. Right? Muawiyah's reply to the Caesar of Rome is that who are you to butt in when two brothers are having a disagreement? And if you continue on this, I will send my own army to you. Right? Meaning that we can have our disagreements as a community. Ladies and gentlemen, look, we can have disagreements. We're family, dude. That's what we do.
I think what he said was, when we settle our dispute, we'll both come after you.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was.
No, actually, we said was that I would be if Ali raised the camp against you, I'd be the first to enlist myself, and I would take your eyes out myself.
Subhanallah, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Jazakallah khairan. We have history buffs against us. Jazakallah with us, mashallah. So that being said, the reason why I said that also was not like some malevolent intent, like, hey, you guys take down the Deobandis. No, dude. I have family. I still benefit from Deobandis, right? And from the Deobandi school. I still have books from the Deobandi school. This wasn't an attack. It was, and this is one thing that I know is going to happen again, probably. I specifically said in that episode that it's not all Deobandis, and people, they're going to take what they want to take, and they're going to say, oh, I can't believe you talk about all the Deobandi scholars. But I get it too. As brothers, I get it. When you love somebody so much, and it seems like they attacked you, your whole world crumbles, and then you feel like it's an attack on yourself. So if any of you guys think that I attacked you personally, I didn't. I was talking about personal issues that I saw myself in my travels, and families that I deal with, and relatives, blood relatives, and family members in specific, extended and close family members that have dealt with these things, right? And I had to try to help and facilitate that help, right? So that's what I want to say as far as my statement is. And finally, again, I'm going to reiterate, so you guys can't say that I said something else, is that whatever happens, we're still Muslims, and we will never be one of those people that are going to give fodder to other people that are trying to tear apart the Muslims and come to their rescue over our Deobandi brothers.
Right. You
You
don't want the rainbow waving, flag waving people coming after you. You would rather hear from your brothers who would have your back over anyone, you know? And I think that that's just it's better just let to
like we believe there's a bigger
there.
threat. We believe there's a huge threat, but yeah, go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just gonna say that even among, I think even these traditional institutions, you'll find them making red of certain sects, but at the end of the day, they still call them brothers, right?
Yeah.
So if their reputations of certain people and groups are acceptable and still within the general parameter of being considered Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and meaning that they can attack or a position or opinions and still be considered to be as part of the Jama'ah.
Yeah.
And that's important, right? The Jama'ah, I said the Jama'ah, we've all said this a long time before too, that one of the biggest things that we want to bring the Jama'ah together, right? Now, in my personal opinion, I think that there are a couple of things that we probably could have done better. In hindsight, probably referred to him with some, respect. The people who out there are respecting him, and they view him as a scholar, and an important scholar for them, for millions of Muslims, maybe in the subcontinent. Yeah. Right. And perhaps in hindsight, adding Maulana next to his name wouldn't have been an issue.
And I just want to let people know that for the episode where we had Yasser Qadi on, he was attacking Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. I didn't write in the title Sheikh Abdul Wahhab, whatever. Yeah. There was no title given, so it wasn't an intentional diss towards Abdul Wahhab, nor was it a diss towards Maulana Thanwi either.
Yeah, it's just the way you do things.
And even after all that evidence stuff I was talking about, I'm still willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that he didn't know better. And following Maulanas and other senior leaders from the institution removed those pages out of those books and had them republished, But the original manuscripts had the evidence of stuff. Yeah, had a decent amount of stuff.
Yeah. And so, but that's where I look at it, and probably, the other thing is that since it was a spontaneous episode, we probably could have had things organized a little better. But I will say this: I agree with Sim. Honestly, me and Sim were looking through some of these books, and as Sheikh Amr knows that like I can read the Arabic, but my Urdu is not that great, right? So I'm reading through, and there is material, but I'm willing to agree with Sim on the fact that we're willing to send this to people that are at the upper ends of it, right? Who can produce a response. I don't want some Joe Schmo on Twitter tweeting at me to watch some refutation video because I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
and then you know what?
Just to be clear, I don't even re-listen to any of the episodes that I record. So I'm not going to listen to somebody else, right? It's just not. I mean, I'd rather have a discourse with an alim whom we're in touch with that we can send this to. For example, he mentioned, people like, Hafiz Amin or Maulana Amin that we trust, right? That we've grown up with, and we can interact with them. But there are, because what's going to happen is what I don't want to happen is this back and forth where, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, and it's just back and forth. Because let's be honest here, people that are sincere in what they believe in and what they want to know, in seeking knowledge about something and the truth, they're going to look into certain things. Right? And people that want to tie to their sectarian beliefs and they want to hold on to whatever belief they are, whether they be Salafi, Sufi, Deobandi, Ashari, Athari, whatever, you name it, whatever, they're going to ignore the other side. They're not listening. They're not willing to listen and have a conversation. Yeah. And so all we're going to do back and forth is just be playing a game of semantics and
arrogance comes in too, bro.
Of course. And
I have to be right.
No, and the thing is, and I know that very well because I've been down that path before with 10 years of debating Aqidah and things. It doesn't benefit anybody.
Yeah, you're
right. And I don't want to waste my energy doing that.
No one's going to become not a Deobandi after our episode. Okay, it's just they're not going to leave their schools and madrasas. I would hope, just in general, not whether you're Deobandi or anything, you are always aligning your belief, your mission with what Allah and His Messenger says, and that no scholar, no institution, no one has so much of a power over you that if they were in error over something that your Islam or your belief system would collapse. And that would be a terrifying thing, whether or not, there was any problems with the Deobandis or the Salafis or the Sufis, what have you. It doesn't matter. Your relationship with Allah and His Messenger, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, one second, Sim, I want to address this one guy in the text. He goes, you literally call quote-unquote top scholars magicians and pimps, and insinuate that Maulana Tanwi were advocated for pedophilia. So in my recollection, I don't even think we mentioned pedophilia at all. I think what you're doing, sir, is you're combining other episodes that other people have done criticizing certain individuals, and you're combining with us. And I don't think you've actually heard our episode if you think that, because we never mentioned anything. We never mentioned anything about pedophilia. We talked about 3 main things, which was sihr, which was waht al-wujud, and we talked about halal houses. Okay, that's the 3 things we talked about. Yes, so you need to go and re-listen to what that issue was. Okay.
Anyways, so the last thing I'll say is, look, to my brothers, and you guys know this about me, and I know this about you guys, because we grew up together, dude. Maheen, I don't know, we haven't tested the waters with him on this level, but
yeah, he's on the inside yet.
I'm pretty much, I was ready to bounce.
If anybody that we know or we don't know as Muslims, and we see them in trouble in front of us, would any of you guys hesitate to help them? Would you be like, hey, they're on their own?
I think
it depends. It depends.
No. Okay. Well, I'm not talking to you right now. Right. You could talk to this guy for right now, all right?
Yeah.
But
Sultan Osman Ghazi, mashallah.
But so I wouldn't ask who they were.
I mean,
I wouldn't ask. I'm like, hey, are you Deobandi? Or dude, they're Muslims. They're Muslims, and I'm telling all my Deobandi brothers and sisters, and all my Brahmi brothers and sisters, I don't care who you are. If you're Muslim and you're in trouble and you're in front of me, I'm gonna help you, bro. And I don't want to get all weird and cliche, but I've always told this to my brothers all the time. You guys know this. And us as believers, the true believer is the one who's able to love his brother because of Allah. And I'm saying this, I'm speaking on my behalf, right? If my wife and my kids are with me and I see a Muslim brother that's getting hurt, a Muslim sister, if I have to die for that person, whether I know them, I don't know them, I'm going to have to do that because that's what a believer does. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just letting you guys know it's a whole different level of love that I got for all of my Muslim brothers and sisters. I don't care what group you come from. If I see you as a Muslim and I can tell that you're a Muslim and you're in trouble, or you're not, I'm going to come and help you. You know what I'm saying? And so I think everything else will wither away, inshallah. You guys got nothing to worry about. We got mad love for you guys, man.
So let's go back and make fun of the social justice crowd.
Let's go back. Nothing else to talk about.
I think
Well, I mean, to be honest,
no, me and Sim were actually talking about this before
I don't
the episode.
even know whether to cry. I mean, so let's kind of segue into that by talking about this. So me and mine have been on Clubhouse lately, and actually we're streaming this right now to Clubhouse, the first time, on Clubhouse right now. But the level of conversation and discourse by some of these SJWs on Clubhouse is disgusting, dude. Like, I mean, you can't. I'm not saying all of them. I believe there are some quote unquote people who fall in that woke category that are decent to talk to. I've talked to some of them, and we may not agree on some of the things we're talking about, but they're able to maintain a level of respect, and they're able to also afford the ability for someone else to talk and also listen to that. But there's another segment of the population on there that, like, they're always 24/7 offended and triggered by something, and like everything is offensive.
They literally tell you, like, I'm triggered right now.
Yeah.
They don't use that terminology.
Yeah.
Like, we thought it was a joke. That's people actually say that.
Yeah, like, I'm so triggered right now. Like, oh my god, like, I don't want to hear about white people problems or white Muslim problems. Like, I mean, and they started saying, like, and to a sheikh on there, they were literally using the F-bomb, like, F you, sheikh. I mean, no, not even sheikh, but F you. I don't know who you are, but F you. I don't want to hear about white people problems. White Muslims have it like this. Like, I mean, stuff like this kind of. I'm not saying this is not my criticism is not about the issue, the topic, right? We can talk about that, right? I'm not delegitimizing what their issue they may be angry about. What I am criticizing is the way they address it, and it's endorsed by the people that moderate those rooms, and they're almost afraid to say, "Hey, that's wrong."
Okay, so can I cut you off so you can continue after this? Give us a little more detail without giving names. Like, I don't have Clubhouse. I don't have an iPhone. I heard in the grapevine what was kind of happening, but what is your take of what happened, of what it spiraled into?
So there's a I think there's a brother that opened a room, and the idea was the title was a clickbait. All right, and it was I think the purpose of the room, correct me if I'm wrong, Maheen, was to demonstrate or to talk about how white Muslims have it, convert Muslims, I should say, white revert Muslims have it easier than black and black revert Muslims.
Right.
Right?
Or sometimes there's like white people, they convert and they get like savior complex right away, and the community props them up and automatically. So that was the context.
Complex.
And this is from the brother himself is a white convert, right? He's the one. So he's kind of critiquing his own. That's kind of the idea of the kind of the idea of the room, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's basically we're lagging.
I don't know for
it'll be fine once the show is back up. Once it's done recording, it'll correct itself. So
yeah.
there's like a buffer. So if you guys missed out on any parts, you can always come back.
And if you're having an
watch
issue, just lower the go settings and put it to 720p instead of 1080.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that was kind of what was going on, right? Where and then so I'm just listening, right? I didn't want to. I mean, I was invited to the panel, but I decided not to speak because I really didn't have anything to add. Everybody was talking about their experiences about. Well, so everybody was offended by something. They were offended that a white person opened a room with that title, insinuating that black people have a problem with white people. And when I did, I spoke one time. I said, to the brother that opened the room, I said, well, I hear your experience that you were made to be put on a pedestal and you were given honorific titles and whatever, fine. But I know of other revert white Muslims brothers that and sisters that have had it the opposite, where they're not Arab enough or brown enough, no matter their qualifications, to be taken as serious Muslims, or they have been looked at as jawasis or like spies, right, in the community, right? Like nobody wants to, they have and they've had a very different experience. That's all I said, right? Then I came back, I left and I came back, and one of our good friends had joined in there. I don't want to just name drop because it's just. I don't feel like doing that, but
sure.
He's a white revert sheikh and a qualified sheikh, okay? And he just gave his perspective on how it can be difficult to be a white Muslim, right? Mm-hmm. Just like other people can have their quote-unquote truths and their experiences, right? So he shared his truth and his experiences. And that triggered like this woke, like, BLM down
Eruption.
crowd. Yeah, I mean, they were like they were just upset that we were that people might empathize with the struggle that a white Muslim might have, right? Instead of as if it's a competition, like, oh, if you empathize with the white Muslim struggle, you're not empathizing with the black Muslim struggle.
I think the first, So I remember the first, because I remember like I got like WhatsApp messages. Hey, there's this room going on with this clickbait title, and I'm leaving the gym and I log in and I'm like drive in and they ask me like, hey, Maheen, what do you think about should white people be allowed to convert to Islam? That's the name of the group. So that everyone gets asked that question when they come on the stage. So I gave my little piece and I kind of went back on mute. I ended up becoming a moderator and I tweeted out on an Instagram story about it, right? So people start jumping in. In the first hour, I would say people are like, kind of working through like, what it's a salvation, right? Why should anyone be excluded from it? This is what's the dialogue. This is like, okay, that's normal. This is fine. I almost wonder if it's like a certain time zone. I don't know if it's like West Coast perhaps as they start logging in, then you start seeing that what Mort was saying, this idea of because there was this question like, well, what about why are you talking about why are white people, you guys have been oppressing people for centuries and now why do we have to bend over, and why are we talking about you guys? And then our Sheikh friend was like, well, the name of this group is about white converts. Like, I mean, that's what the room is about. Like, right? You come into this room knowing that this is what we're talking about. So
none of that matters no more.
You know what I'm saying? So and he was like, every time, and I remember the first thing he's like, and he would be like, listen, I'm going to push back a little bit because I think this leads to better conversation. This is the kind of how he was going about it. And then, like, literally, like the response was, yeah, right now I think you're just peddling white supremacy. I was like,
yeah, and it was just so horrible because I mean, like, I don't mind. Look, honestly, I'm even beginning to tolerate some of this woke attitude. Right. My thing though is I feel like everything, okay, if you deal with one thing, they always have like this checklist of things to be triggered by. Like, okay, that's resolved. Now I'm pissed off about this. I'm offended by this, right? And it's like you have to justify yourself on everything. Like, they will go through old tweets. They will go through your opinions. And, I'm personally, like, for me, if someone were to do that to me, I'm the worst person to do it to because I would just say, I don't regret anything. I mean, I'll just say what I explain. I'll explain it, and I won't apologize to anybody, right? Unless it's genuinely deserved of, right? But most of the stuff I put out there is genuinely, I really believe what I say, right? And like, but they can't tolerate that. Like, I'll give you an example. I was in a different room. Okay, we had a room open. And in that room, we allowed everybody to speak. We're talking about some issues, right? We were talking specifically about the Richard Spencer issue.
So that was Saturday, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So, and what happened is that in that episode, number one, for a point of clarification, the Mad Mamluks did not record with Richard Spencer or any Nazi. Okay, because that was the allegation that we were being when I walked in. So I mean that they were saying it. Because I mean Maheen had.
I don't think I was in the room at the time, right, when this started.
No, I think. I think this is when you left and made me a mod.
Right.
And then I had made some other people a mod that made other people a mod.
Okay.
And that was my biggest mistake.
So I bounced.
I didn't realize that they could do that. Like I didn't know you could just pass off modship, right? I didn't know you could do that. But anyways, it was like hot potatoes. Like everyone that was that was woke just became a mod all of a sudden. But anyways, the point being is, there were some people who came in there and they kind of changed the subject that Maheen had originally opened the room for. So he shut it down. He just closed the room, which is no problem, right? You can close the room. Then they opened a room, okay? So I went in there because I thought that, and by the way, there was not even really an argument, right? It was just discussion. And many people were listening, and I thought I would go back in there, and I thought they would afford me the same respect that, hey, even though I'm a mod, and there may be things that we disagree about, even though we didn't even get into a disagreement yet, you had a chance to speak, and other people were made mods, right? So when I get in there and they're talking about issues of capitalism and Marxism, I said, you know what? I made the comment that something to the effect like, I'm hearing all these terms, right? But I'm trying to look at this as a Muslim and see why do I have to add all these terms in order for me to address the issues. I'm a Muslim. I should be able to find it from within Islam. I don't need to be a Marxist Muslim or a feminist Muslim. Or that was my point. And then in the middle, some girl goes, I forgot who it was. Excuse me, I just can't listen to this anymore. I don't know, whatever. I mean, you're not really sincere. You're from the Mad Mamluks, and you have shows with Nazis, and you know. I'm like, okay, and they muted me, right? And then one of the brothers goes, oh, he's from the Mad Mamluks. Is he from the Mad Mamluks? And then they go, yeah. And he goes, get the F out of here. You shouldn't be on a platform. You shouldn't have any stage. Get the F out of here. F off. And like they booted me off, right? So I opened my own room and I said, you know, I opened the room titled, leave your kufr at the door, smile, right? And then they all left. People started coming in my room and they all left that room. The ones that wanted to deplatform me and didn't want to hear me speak, they all came into that room to speak.
Crybabies.
And then and by the way, I didn't even attack them when they came in. I actually offered them the time to speak. One interrupted and just asked for questions. I said, hey, is that all the time you need? Or would you like more? And in response to that, well, you guys have showed your position. You're low-key racist. But I mean, even then I didn't block him.
Or why? Yeah. Or like, it seems to me you have an infatuation with giving dawah to Nazis. Right?
Simply for the fact that we're saying that, hey, there's no problem. Oh, and by the way, this is the most mind-boggling. I can deal with all that. These are jahil people. I can deal with that, right? But the most mind-boggling thing is that they're trying to tell me that it's haram to do da'wah. This is what I want to ask you about. Let's talk about this now. That it's haram for me to make da'wah to someone like let's say...
Like a Richard Spencer.
Like a Richard Spencer, who is why the justification it's haram is because he engages in speech and enables people who have harmed and will harm.
It leads to death.
And to the death of Muslims and specifically black Muslims. So it's haram for me to sit down and ask him what he has an issue with within Islam. Is that now?
If that was a problem, Khalid bin Walid shouldn't have been given da'wah to.
So that was my thing, and my thinking was that did not the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, did not he make the dua for the two Umar bin Hisham and Umar bin Khattab, right? Mm-hmm. And one of them, Umar radiallahu anhu was on the way to kill the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yeah, of course.
Right? What about Wahshi?
Yeah.
The one, people like this, right? The Prophet would go and seek nusra through the tribes.
But one thing shouldn't be mistaken. It's not like you're going to give da'wah, you're at war with Genghis Khan, and you're going to say, oh, no, we want to go talk to Genghis Khan, shake his hand and give him da'wah. That's not what it is. So da'wah for him now, because the way he raped and pillaged through the Muslim world, was the sword. No, but that's when the sword comes in.
So what I'm saying is, okay, so let me ask you this, though. I'm not saying you should take a weak position, but what I'm saying is that what if you wrote a letter of exchange in da'wah? What is preventing you from becoming a Muslim?
Of course. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should, oh, you know what, we want to have peace with you. I'm not saying that. And I made that very clear. I think in the show, I made that very clear that we're not talking about making peace with people. We're talking about actually, we're talking about asking them what makes them so hateful towards Muslims, right? Because some of them have and I think what some of the other brothers in the room highlighted was that some of these, not all of them, but some of them have made positive statements of some sort about certain aspects of Islam. So in order to capitalize on that, right, to say, hey, there's more to Islam than just what meets the eye, right? Like we have a solution for pretty much all the societal issues you're complaining about, right? And I think from that perspective,
Richard Spencer being one of them. That was the example that was given.
Correct. And so I guess, they were trying to say it was unanimously haram for me or for anyone to engage in da'wah with them.
Yeah. So let me just give you my two.
I'm not. By the way, I said I'm like when I'm talking to Richard Spencer, I'm not thinking about da'wah. I'm just like, dude, fell in my if an opportunity came. And I spoke, and I was like, the opportunity came for me to interview Richard Spencer, and I took me like 5 seconds to decide. I was like, yeah, sure, sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's and if the fact that he reached, because they were like, well, they came to you. I'm like, I'm telling you over and over again, I didn't go seek out Richard Spencer. Yeah. The opportunity came to me.
Yeah.
I just asked for a little bit more time so I could like go through his previous content to kind of understand.
Look, there's one thing you're going to realize, you can't keep everybody happy.
Can I just read one comment before you answer? So, mashallah, Sheikh Dawood Walid, he said a comment, he said, I'd have one conversation, a discussion with Richard Spencer, and I agree with that. I think one conversation is sufficient. Yeah. Beyond that, we don't need to beg you. We don't need to beg you to be a Muslim. I mean, we're just, our job is done at that point. Like, we've delivered the da'wah. At that point, bro, it's up to you, right? I mean, Islam does not need a Richard Spencer to become, we don't need any particular person, right? Allah will make his deen prevalent without anybody. I mean, without
Yeah.
any one of us,
Yes.
even as a matter of fact, right? So I agree with that. I don't think, I apologize if I'm giving off the vibe that we should somehow be apologetic to them and approach them in meekness and humbleness. No, I mean, I think we should be very firm in our positions, and I tried to do that with Edward Dutton and tell him, look, either whatever you believe in, just admit with me that at the end of the day, that Muslims will be dominant over you, right? You agree? And he said, yeah. And I told him, hey, well, eventually you end up paying us jizya. And he agreed, right? I mean,
Jizya tax collectors.
yeah.
That's our.
I mean, he
that's
knew
our
that.
future.
Yeah, I mean, he knew that, and that was I mean, I'm not doing it to be funny, but I did that to let him know that we're not having this conversation because we're trying to woo you into this, right? Like, there's a very difference between us and you. And that was the point. But the problems that you profess to have, Islam has a solution to.
But that doesn't mean that we don't engage with him and
Sure.
give him, try to figure out what exactly his complaints are. Well, and you have to also understand that some of his audience is not something he affiliates with. For example, there are some neo-Nazis who might cite his literature and things like that, and he may want to explain that, hey, look, I don't associate myself with these people. These people use my writings for their own purposes, for their own gains. But I have specific positions that I have towards Islam and or other Abrahamic faiths that in his writings were that are detrimental to the IQ of civilization. And it's not necessarily that that I'm anti-immigrant or not. Maybe he is anti-immigrant.
You're talking
I don't
about
know.
Dutton, right?
Dutton.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to flesh out what exactly do you believe in, and that's what I think Maheen did with his podcast.
Yeah,
with Spencer.
and you were advantageous in this
And
position
once
because he came to you and he had to explain himself to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But it was more like people were like, well, why didn't you hold him to account for what his positions? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this holding people to account? Like, people are like, I get on Twitter like, we got to hold the Mad Mamluks accountable. Like, how? What does that even mean?
I don't answer
like,
to you guys.
Yeah.
It's a sense of entitlement, bro. Check this out.
You're not my lord. I don't answer to you.
No, but it's this entitlement. Look, this is the next direction I want, because I want to get your take on this. I personally believe the biggest threat for Muslims in the West is going to be this hybrid tail end of Muslims from our generation, millennials, if you want to call them, and this generation. It's a mix, an amalgam of ideas that you are able to bully anybody if you don't like what they say. You could be crybabies about it, and you're going to do your best to character assassinate these people, go and bully them on social media or personally, cause all types of riots or whatever the case is. And it's these type of, quote unquote, you're referring to them as woke Muslims. I think this is, in the next 5 to 10 years, the biggest dilemma that mainstream Muslims are going to have to deal with. This is, like, where do you think that this is going to go as far as Muslims are concerned?
Look, one of the things that I talk about often is when you have institutions who are spreading their ideas, their ideology, okay? Whatever Islam is as an identity to people, it's secondary or tertiary. It's something on the periphery. Whatever their music artists, people who they look up to in pop culture, whatever they're advocating is what our children will be advocating. No matter how much you establish Salah, no matter how much you talk about the Islam and Quran in the house, these kids, when they go out, it's a whole nother ballgame because you're fighting against something, it's an invisible enemy. You're fighting against the mass hypnosis of people. You're in effect competing against people who are just teaching your children that whatever you're learning at home, it's not necessarily the wrong, but you're having contradictory ideas. And when these children, they come back home, they hear more and more about what you're preaching and what you're trying to instill in their mind. It's just conflicting. And then that's what you have when you have these social justice warriors. They're swearing at shayukh, but if I guarantee you, if that shayukh was giving off the cues that they wanted to hear, they'd be holding him up, and they would say, hey, this is the kind of people we need, and so what he said wasn't in line with what their belief system is, because their belief system is not Islam. It's an amalgamation of sorts. It's not, we're not saying that they're not Muslims, but the premise where they operate from, they're not referring it back to Islam.
It's some kind
more,
of, right.
It's more along identity politics and critical race theory, oppression, the things that you would think on the surface level when you see people being activists towards, you think that, oh my God, mashallah, this person is fighting for people who are oppressed. But then as you dig deeper, you realize that it's not even about oppression. It's more about the individual wanting to have some sense of purpose in life. They're wanting some kind of place where they're receiving attention for some kind of cause that seems noble and virtuous, but it's really about them in the end.
Right.
But Islam, what it does is it realigns your compass so that you're fixated on what God, Allah and His Messenger wants, and that's how our frame of thinking is trained. And it takes years of training. Just even when you think you taught your kids, once they go out in college, they need to be recalibrated towards that type of thinking, because they keep on testing their ideas against what their professors are teaching, and it's much more advanced, and it's not something that you're going to be having discussions with on a playground. They're really going to be challenged, and that's
right. So we have a guest on Clubhouse, Sheikh Dawood Waleed decided to join.
Are you going to be able to? We'll see if it works.
Yeah, it will. You can go ahead and unmute Sheikh Dawood and jump in.
Sheikh Dawood, unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Wow, what a treat.
Alhamdulillah. I miss you, brothers. Inshallah, after Shahr Ramadan, I'm going to start traveling to different places again, including accepting invitations. Inshallah, I hope to visit you all, and plus our friend Sheikh Hamza Maqbool has moved back to Chicago, so inshallah I have to make a visit up there to visit.
He's a big fan of our show.
Inshallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So Sheikh Dawood, what's on your mind?
I was invited to come on, so I just came on to a moment just to give you all salam. Let me say that what you all are talking about as far as the clubhouse vibe and the woke activism, and specifically what Sheikh Amr just said in regards to the biggest threat of our coming up to our community and next generation, I agree 100%. I've been saying this for a long time that
Yes, you have.
it's not the far right who Muslims have to worry about. It's actually the inclinations and picking up the platform and the language of the so-called progressive left as a bigger danger for us of transmitting our deen in the future than so-called white supremacy. So that's my opinion. I agree 100%.
Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
I was gonna say, I think we were having that one conversation with the brother about, like, remember he was trying to argue about socialism, right?
Yes.
And it was like, because it's like sometimes what happens is you're raised by this foreign ideology. I think one thing I tweeted about this last week. We're all about the same age. I'll be 40 this year. I'm probably the youngest out of y'all. I think so.
We're about the same age.
I think
Okay.
Sheikh Amr is a little bit younger than you are.
For real?
We'll talk
We'll
about my
talk
age.
about offline. Okay. But like, I remember there was this whole thing about. I was like, it seems like I missed an update to my operating system about a year ago, where I should have been understanding about power dynamics and like what patriarchy, all these terms. Like, and it kind of missed me. And now it's like these guys in their 20s, that's what they were raised with.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so it's like they're Muslims. We talk about it. And so it's funny because I was having a conversation with Dr. Yasser Morsi actually Saturday night in a closed room. And I was like, Doctor, it was actually really respectful. Like, we talked for like 15, 20 minutes. And, I was just like, listen, I don't know too much about these CRT stuff, to be honest. I could see how it could be a tool, but my problem is the fruits of what I'm seeing is that people make wala wa bara over it.
Yeah.
We're making, like, Muslims are making, like, hating other Muslims over some secular ideology that some European white postmodernist thinker came up with.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Sorry, Mahin. Well, one of the most important things when you're measuring any type of philosophy, ideology, is the practical application of that. How is it being applied in society? It doesn't matter what it's written on text. On text, it could be completely kosher and sound safe according to your theology, but what's the end result, the effect of it, and how it permeates into society is the ultimate measure of it. Because if you missed out on certain elements within your textual philosophy, and what will happen is what will happen is that society will fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Wherever you missed out, society will just make it up. They'll just take on their own interpretation of things, and that's why it's so important that when we have Islam and the various interpretations within our Sunni fold of Islam, that we're always within this kind of, it's kind of like the blockchain. We're all like testing out these ideas within our mashayikh, and they're all like flushing it out within their circles
and peer-to-peer verification.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you know. But since we have Sheikh, I have a real an honest question. So, me, like, the Clubhouse has probably been the most amount of youth interaction I've had in years, right? And I'm being genuinely honest here.
I know.
Okay.
You only have 3 friends.
And honestly, Sheikh, I don't understand. Like, I don't know if I have the patience to deal with it. Like, I really like feel like, you know, my conversations with them are useless now. Like, I just think that we're on different levels. And what's your advice, like, on because I feel like they're speaking a different language. Like,
I was thinking about this because I feel like Morton and I have been trying to really understand, and we're trying to be. And the fact of the matter, when you started that one, there's a feminism room a couple of weeks ago. I think you're really trying to understand them, and they're like, "No, you already have your mind made up. This is just an agenda to have us fight, or something." I was like it's like they look. They like, what's the opposite of husna done? Su'ad done?
Su'ad done. But criticism,
on steroids.
Criticism, a constructive criticism used to be constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sheikh, I'm going to let you jump in after this, but constructive criticism to them is considered like, hey, you're going to war with me now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're just asking a simple question. If it doesn't sit well with
it's
them,
a question,
it's war.
Or
it's like, no, dude, I'm just asking a simple
there
question.
was a term last night. One of the people in the room responding to our scholar friend was like, "This is a violent attack on me."
I was like, cool.
Wow.
A violent attack.
Maybe we can get Sheikh
Words
Dawood's,
are violence.
Yeah,
you
make
know that
Sheikh,
song?
Yeah, go further, Sheikh Dawood.
Well, I say that the use for Clubhouse is only good in the sense that if you're going to have some sort of short reminder where you are the moderator, or you know the person who is the moderator, and they have a set group of people that they would call up on the platform to discuss a particular issue, like how, for instance, how El Qalam has been doing that recently, but they only are calling up people who are teachers or affiliated with El Qalam, and then they're giving a reminder about the fiqh of fasting or something on that lines. But in regards to having any sort of like discourse to debate ideas or just to have a respectful discussion, I think Clubhouse is a horrible platform. And ironically, what I've found is that I've gone in some rooms, a few rooms with people who lean more to the right, and even though I may disagree with some of them, they are actually more open to having a civil discussion and dialogue, people who are on the right, than people who are on the left. And that's
you just messed up, Sheikh. That's all they're going to hear is everything you said, and they're going to say, Sheikh Dawood Walid sides with the extreme right.
No, I literally had someone message me today telling me that, like, oh, Imam Mark Manley is part of the Ak right. And I was like, what? Because it seems like, you know, and one of the, part of Sheikh Dawood, I don't know if you get this, I think I've talked to a lot of like people who are in our mainstream institutions over the last couple of weeks, like people who are like really upset about the Spencer episode, even before it aired. People who are like in mainstream institutions in the U.S., Muslims with proper Aqidah, sound creed, and all that, were like really upset by it. And when I talk to them, a lot of it is almost like appropriating, like non-black Muslims saying this is a slap in the face to black people. And so I went and talked to like the brothers I know in Chicago at Iman, etc., or people who are doing work as far as gun violence in Chicago, and they were like, the fact that they're saying that is more offensive than anybody you could interview at the end of the day, right? Because they're missing the point. Like, people are dying. You interviewing Richard Spencer is tertiary. It's not a big deal. I'm not a fan of Richard Spencer. Don't get me wrong, but that's the thing. But like. And then I spoke to some people in overseas, like in the UK, in Australia, and they were like trying to educate me on literally what goes on in my city, right? And I was like, okay, so I'm like, okay, so who should I listen to, in America? And I was like, and he's like, have you heard of Obeidullah Evans? And I'm like, yeah, he used to be my neighbor, right? I mean, like, and then he was like, but it's almost like, I'm like, what about Sheikh Dawood Walid? And I was like, well, no, I would take this from him. I would take it from X, Y, and Z, but not Imam Zaid Shakir, who's got like 30 years on the ground experience. Or you know what I'm saying? It's like, but I'm feeling these individuals are influencing some of our more younger folks who mean well, not activist types, but people in knowledge circles.
Yeah.
It's creeping in because they're so bullish about it. They're loud. That's the thing.
Yeah, they're not just bullish, they're bullies, dude.
Yeah.
They're bullies.
So Sheikh, though, I don't know if, in your, being with CARE, a mainstream institution, if you're seeing some of this rhetoric creep in, but like, yeah, because I've always been, I think amongst the four of us, probably like I volunteered for Al Maghrib for like 12 years.
Yeah.
So that's one of the more mainstream organizations, and even in some of these circles, you see that creeping in where people are just afraid. Like even they're like, oh man, Maheen, well, yeah, man, why would you interview Richard Spencer? What's the point of that? Like, why? I'm like, dude, it's my show. I got 600 subscribers on YouTube. It ain't a big deal. But Sheikh Dawood, I threw a lot at you there. I just want to kind of get your take on all that.
Yeah, that was a lot. One thing I will say, and going back to people think that they can school others or speak to your experience from different communities or even across the pond. But just a few weeks ago, I taught a weekend course at the Boston Islamic Seminary on my book Towards Sacred Activism. It was a 2-day intensive course. There were a group of South Asian feminists who contacted the school. They actually started something online. I don't want to mention who they are, though you've had one of them on your show before. They actually contacted the seminary and were trying to start a campaign to get me canceled from teaching there because they said they didn't like my views on Black Lives Matter. So here I am. I'm a black man, African American, and they want me to be canceled because they, as South Asian woke women, don't like how I talk about Black Lives Matter and the issue of police brutality against black men,
what a weird
in which
world.
the vast majority of black men who get brutalized by the police are straight black men, right? They're not trans or anything like that. So it's unfortunately some of these people will bully people in other organizations that didn't work for the Boston Islamic Seminary. But I've had some of these people contact different organizations or organizers, and I've been disinvited a couple of times myself. So it's unfortunately it's a growing phenomenon.
Wow, that's really surprising to hear.
What a horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
How weird is this world? You disagree with something they say, even though it's supposed to be freedom of speech. You endorse freedom of speech. Then you go to his work and try to get him fired?
No, but
what a bunch of lunatics, bro. I'm sorry, bro.
No,
that's lunacy, dude.
My thing is, I do they see the irony in the fact that they're claiming to speak on behalf of black people and they're trying to suppress a black man from speaking about issues that he knows about or he's at least his experience,
that
right?
doesn't matter to them, bro.
Yeah, but
that don't matter to them.
The irony, like
he said, it's about a feeling that you want to get. You want to be a part of this train of getting a great feeling.
So
bro.
that's part of my problem, Sheikh. Like, I believe a lot of the young people that are listening to these guys they genuinely mean well. Like they're thinking like, hey, how do I help? Like they genuinely believe it. I mean, I think most of us can agree that there is a problem with inequality in the world, right?
Right.
We can definitely
Of course.
agree on that issue, and we would like to see that issue be tackled. I think for them being here, it's been pounded into their brain that the only way to tackle this is by the method that those people are teaching them, right? And so they think that's the only that is the Islamic way to do it. That is the obligatory way, the prophetic way to do it, right? And I think that's why they're so quickly. And let's just be honest, right? We were all young at some point, and we were passionate about certain things. It becomes very difficult to hear a different opinion when you're younger and more overzealous, right? And I think that's unfortunately the trap that I've been seeing on Clubhouse, unfortunately.
Well, I think we've all been there, right? I think as we got older, when we were younger, we had some of these sentiments against, white people or, very intersectional type frame of thinking I know just among us, we've had like, oh, whatever our experiences were in school and stuff with Italians and stuff. Me and Mort always talk about.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
but do you remember that time when we all went to our first Islamic school together? And I remember the first day we were there, the first white kid we saw step on school property. They were like, "White boy!" Like it was just like it was like this. Everyone, it was like this final moment where like, but I mean, again, like to his point that it was just emotionally built up, and like, we targeted. I think we directed that frustration.
He's like, this dude is responsible for the fall of the
Khilafah. Exactly. No, not only that. Like he's the one responsible for calling me a muzzy or some name or whatever it was. Like he was the one, his people and his tribe, right?
Yeah.
So it was a very tribalistic way of looking at it as a child.
Yeah, and when you think about it, this is the most. Look at the prison system.
Yeah.
How is the prison system divided? How do you get protected? Race, features, right? Features that intersectional features that are representative of the most outward representation of society. But which crowd is it in the prison system that accepts everyone?
Muslims.
The Muslims. Yeah. So when you think about it that way. When you think about what we as Muslims have to offer to the world, because what do you say about prison itself? That it's a microcosm of society. That it's the most bare way of how society organizes itself, right? And what better way to look at the prison system? Like Chappelle and them, they all have on the Chappelle show. They have jokes where the judge like hammers the gavel, and then he says, you get 10 years in prison and plenty of time to convert to Islam. So, but
did he really say that?
Yeah, but when you think about it, everyone associates you either going to prison and becoming either worse and deeper or more entrenched in your bad behavior, more isolated, more segmented into whatever intersection of society you're in, or you become a Muslim and you actually grow out of that,
Dude, I never thought about that. You just blew my wig, dude. Jazakallah khair. That's pretty dope, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
You say blew your wig?
Yeah, that's something we used to say in the 80s.
Back when you had
the
hair.
time traveler.
Yeah. So I think before you kind of wind this one down, I wanted to give Sheikh Dauda an opportunity just to make any final thoughts.
I don't have anything further to say. I thank you all for the ongoing khidmah that you're doing on behalf of the Muslim community and having these needed conversations and touching on issues that other platforms are scared to talk about. I really enjoyed the one about Khilafah. I'm one of those people who is pro Khilafah. And I like to hear those sorts of conversations. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you all. And I would also say that, and there's a sister that was just in the waiting room, but if I can make one request for you in the future, is to, if you haven't done it before, which I don't think you've had, try to have an episode to talk about the wrongful incarceration in the case of Imam Jamil Al-Amin, Hafidhullah Ta'ala.
Oh, yes, definitely.
His case is not popular. It's not a so-called sexy case, but the Muslim community has really done a disservice by not working more diligently to get him freed. He is, if there's anyone in our community who's mazloom, it's Imam Jamil Al-Amin, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieve him from his suffering and help his family. And
that's been going on for more than 20 years already.
His cause.
Yeah.
No longer than 20. It's been how long has he been incarcerated now, Sheikh?
Decades.
Imam Jamil's been in there for about 20 years now.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think he got found guilty right around the time of when 9/11 took place. But he was locked up before then. But I mean, the whole thing, he was targeted by the federal government going back to the J. Edgar Hoover days.
Yep.
There's a person who confessed to doing the actual shooting of the cop, and the judge didn't allow that testimony. The cop who was shot himself gave a description of someone that did not fit Imam Jamil's description. There's all sorts of problems with that case. But Sister Maha, who's in the waiting room right here on Clubhouse, she'd be a good person to talk to because she's an attorney that's working on the case. But I would really
Wow.
say, I would encourage you all to use your platform to have an episode to talk about the freedom of Imam, the case and the freeing of Imam Jamil Al-Amin, Hafidhullah Ta'ala.
Jazakallah khair for reminding us
Jazakallah
of
khair,
that,
Sheikh.
man.
Maha, Sister Maha, I actually followed you, so if you want to follow me back, I'll reach out and be in touch with you, inshallah ta'ala.
Well, one of the things that Ismail Royer, who we had a show with, several shows, I think we had 2 parts when he was on his journey to prison, and then during his time in prison, and he talked about Imam Jamal Amin being in a cell block up right above him, and the deterioration of his mental condition or just mental state just by loud noises that Breuer would make these sounds of like when he does wudu and stuff.
Yeah, his sink wasn't working the right way. Or
Right,
something.
right. So Breuer, I know because I once roomed with Breuer when he was getting married, and he runs the faucet for a long time, and Imam Jamil is thinking that Breuer is trying to intentionally upset him.
I remember that part of the episode. Yeah,
he's
yeah.
just running the water, on and off or whatever.
And is making weird noises with the pipes.
Yeah.
He's saying when you turn it off the faucet,
Right.
because Jamil Amin was underneath him.
Right.
Yes.
And it makes sounds in the pipes. So he was thinking he was intentionally doing this to disturb him. Right?
Yeah, man. Because the funny thing is because Ismail's such a sweetie.
Yeah.
He's so
He
sweet
doesn't
and
know,
nice.
yeah.
He just has no idea that Imam Jamil's making this whole story of why Ismail
SubhanAllah,
Royer might
wow.
be. But
That's
look,
so sad,
we
dude.
kid about it, but we have to understand the incredible sacrifice, incredible torture that he's experiencing.
Yeah.
In prison by isolation, because what they do in the supermax prison is that you're alone.
That's right. It was a Supermax prison, right?
You get your TV and you get all that stuff, but you're completely isolated, and your prison is your thoughts actually.
Yeah, and just to highlight, this is a method used, and there's no secret that the U.S. government has used like low-key torture techniques like that, right, with sounds and things like that. So
yeah, every government.
yeah,
has.
so I mean, we ask Allah Subhanahu wa Taala to free him as soon as possible and to rectify his issues. Allahumma
And
ameen.
meanwhile, send tranquility in his heart and make him,
Allahumma ameen, yes.
Make
Make it a-
rectify his
make it a
himself
khalwa for
in
him
Yemen.
rather than-
Ameen.
Allahumma ameen.
Yeah,
mean-
and just to add on, brothers, and I was on a call when he called in maybe about a month and a half ago during a presentation, but Imam Jamil, because of the neglect of medical attention for him, and they intentionally denied him medical care and also medicine, he is now blind. He's lost his vision, and he's in a wheelchair now. So they intentionally did that. So we're talking about a real Fir'aunic type of situation right here. It's really, really bad. So, but anyway, I'm going to jump off now. May Allah Azza wa Jalla preserve you all. And I'm a fan. I watch most of your shows. And you all keep up the good work. I'm going to go back to the regular chat and watch with everyone else.
Allah give you an accepted Ramadan. Allah accept your Ramadan, brother. Allah accept your Ramadan.
I mean, brothers and sisters, do you guys have any closing thoughts? Let's start off with Maheen. Do you have anything coming up that you'd like to talk about?
No, I just got a bunch of shows to drop on the Sultan Stickers channel.
Anything of note? I want Richard Spencer again. I liked you sweating, bro. It was great.
No, so a couple shows I got in the pipeline that some of y'all, if you follow me on Facebook, you may have seen these already. I got a show about the Qadianis with Bashir Ahmed Shah and Farhan Yusufzai, who wrote a
was
book.
that the guy that I had in my show?
Yeah,
the brother, good brother.
Yeah. Farhan.
I know Farhan from a long time ago too.
Farhan used to debate Qadianis, and he wrote a book called With
Wait,
Love.
he used to bake them?
Debate.
Oh, debate them.
Debate.
I thought he
To
baked
the-
them. I'm like, what's he baking them
Yeah.
for?
To the
Sounds
Ahmadis.
very Nazi-like.
Yeah, to the Ahmadis with love. I did a show with Yusuf Clack, who used to run Clack Fit in California.
Oh yeah, follow him on Instagram.
Yeah,
He's a great dude.
You know, and he's got some interesting takes on California, how they handle COVID, and all that kind of stuff.
That's a juicy episode.
That's coming up. I recorded that one already, and then I'll be recording with Hamza Dudgeon, aka Hamza the Historian, this Saturday.
Inshallah.
And
Is
then
he in Minnesota right now? Where is he?
He's in Minnesota.
Okay.
So I told him, and I got to tell him, like, when he comes to Chicago, we can do a Mad Mamluk show with him.
That's
in
a
studio,
good brother, man.
You know?
Mashallah, that's a good brother.
So I got a lot of stuff that's just kind of sitting in the pipeline. Ohala Brothers, they were on Mad Mamluks. They were on my show, so
Yeah.
I gotta drop that as well.
Wow,
so
that's a lot.
There's a lot coming out that I
Awesome.
gotta. Yeah,
That's great.
So
You're staying busy. Mort, anything you'd like to do before you wrap up? I thank you so much for. Actually, I should be thanking Mort for setting up the clubhouse. You know, many people mentioned.
Don't thank him. Why is he thanking you?
Yeah, I don't know. Either.
No. Well,
I'm just joking,
many
I'm
of the
joking.
many of the listeners should actually be thanking because they were requesting Clubhouse to be integrated with the Mad Mamluks so that
Mashallah.
we can have these discussions with other people who are part of want to participate, and we were hoping that the Clubhouse platform lends itself in this way so that these Wednesday night roundtables are more productive, where we're directly interacting with you guys and we don't have to worry about certain individuals that we don't want on getting on.
Yeah, and I think that this was kind of a test feeling out, and alhamdulillah, Sheikh Dawood was able to bless the mic and
Mashallah.
test it out with us. So it works well. Maybe perhaps in the future we'll do some kind of session where we have people that can have questions or guests that can come on, whatever it may be. But real quickly, nothing really new right now for me. I mean, I have a couple of videos that came out already, but I just released a new video with Sunnah Defense. It's a video responding to some reacting to a Mudarrisi video, who is a famous Mu'amman, Shia Imam. So you guys can check it out in Sunnah Defense channel.
Wait, who's a Muhammad?
Mudarrisi.
His name is Mudarrisi.
Yeah. He comes.
Mudarrisi, I don't know.
Yeah, they're a famous Shiite family. His grandfather was an Ayatollah, and he's a martyr there. But anyways, point being is we react to some of that stuff. And so check it out over there. I got some other videos coming out too. And by the way, for us, we will be very soon. There's a couple guests we have in the pipeline. I don't want to list all of them, but one of them will be, we were talking to Sim, the girl who the Netflix film was about, the Chicago girl who started the Syrian Revolution, basically coordinated.
The what called Chicago Girl.
Yeah,
Okay.
the one. So she'll be coming on very soon too, inshallah. So it's gonna be a fun episode because I like many of us here, we were heavy followers. I was hugely interested in the Syrian Revolution and the plight of those brothers and what was going on there.
Yeah.
And so there's so many questions, so many things.
We're also on this weekend. We're having an episode with brother Furqan Jabbar, who is a comic book artist. He's going to be coming on the show, talking to you guys about some of the work that he's published. He's just an incredibly talented animator who is working on his own without the help of any government or TRT like production company. But he's incredibly talented, and it's so important that we Muslims support him and give his projects support, because he's not only just an animator, an incredibly talented animator at that, but he's also a scholar. He's classically trained and all that.
Mashallah.
It's amazing. Just those kind of people are very few and far between.
That's
and
a rare
just,
breed,
it's
dude.
just so important that we as Muslims, rally around our
And he's
talented
super talented.
individuals.
Like, I mean, he's amazing. I'm humbled by him. I mean, we had a conversation. I don't want to go into the whole detail, but his stuff is amazing. And I really wish if anybody out there is involved in media and production and is just on top of that game, please reach out to us, because we don't want any profits from this or nothing. I just want to link you with a brother that has an extreme talent, extremely good talent, and is very creative. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the resources. And
this is why we need the Khilafah, bro. This is why we have like these type of people don't go unfunded.
Would you be the Amir of digital media?
I would be one of the tax collectors.
Yeah, this is an interesting idea, because there's a shirt that I've designed. I'm coming out with it soon. I actually printed the first design of it, and I'll be wearing it later on soon enough once I get it.
Yeah, don't say what's on it yet.
Yeah, that's why he keeps repeating what he does. But what you guys
we're trying to hype up the t-shirt, bro.
Yeah,
T-shirt looks sick.
Just say it.
Is it? No, I mean,
wait, what?
Just say it,
you
bro.
weren't even supposed to say this.
He
now.
ruined it.
Now there's no hype, because you said we're trying to.
no,
hype it
you
up.
guys will see when it comes out.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
When do you think we'll have it?
Maybe he's wearing it right now. The starter shirt.
Starter.
We went to Walmart and bought a whole lot of starter shirts.
That's dope.
Yeah, but that's all I got. So let's give it to Sheikh Ahmed. Anything last final words?
Last thing I want to say, brothers and sisters, look, we all joke around. We like to mess around, but it's serious messages no matter what happens. not just me, but all of us, we love all of you for the sake of Allah. No matter what we say, look, if it's something doesn't sit well with you, it's fine, dude. We're a family, and we all love each other.
We're a family, and we are a stone throws away. If you are having difficulty with anything, message us.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a Patreon member to email us for us to help you out. If in whatever we can. We're not going to give you $1 million or anything.
Yeah.
But
If we had $1 million, we probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So,
No, and true. I
if
actually
it's within our power, we'll do our best to help you out.
yeah.
Inshallah.
In that spirit, I realized that my Twitter DMs were closed. I actually opened them now. So if anyone was trying to message me and couldn't,
Mashallah, what a celeb, dude.
no,
Opened
no,
up
no,
his DMs.
no. I'm saying that
Flip the
because
switch for you commoners to message him.
no, I didn't realize that people
just
may
messing.
not have been able to message me. So I apologize to anyone that tried to message me and couldn't. So they're
Yeah.
open now. So if there's any way I can help you,
Commoners. Reminds me of the story when you walked into Target
Yeah.
and you said
Oh.
commoners.
A lot of brothers over the past week called me, messaged me. I couldn't reach out you guys out. I'm so sorry. I have a family. I have a life outside this, and hopefully some career that I hope to return back to. when
if you're not canceled,
yeah, bro, I have some projects due and I'm kind of behind. So I have to get my act together and make sure that this whole studio and everything is
so we can keep the lights on.
yeah, we can. We're not going to go very far if old Sim loses his job, you know what I'm saying? All right, guys. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.